Hey guys, it's Celestia, and welcome to this week's bonus surprise video. I've been meaning to make this for months, but time isn't real and I've been drowning in work, so here we are. Nonetheless, I'm super excited to announce that I'm hosting an Animal Crossing-based Draw This in Your Style challenge. Today I'll be drawing Celeste, my favorite Animal Crossing character, humanized, which will be the art used for the challenge. And every person who enters using the hashtag Duchess Celestia, DTIYS, via Twitter or Instagram will receive 1 million bells, 10 Nook Mile tickets, and a full Sanrio set of their choice in Animal Crossing New Horizons. While you're welcome to submit entries for as long as you'd like, prizes will only be given to those who post their entries before July 1st, 2021. I'll contact you to arrange the drop-off of your prizes on either Twitter or Instagram, depending on where you posted your entry, so please be sure to have DMs open. In addition to the announcement of this challenge, I thought I'd keep with the theme and share a story time with you guys about my experience with Animal Crossing. Before I do though, please note that while the story's vibe is a very positive one, there are brief mentions of self-harm and suicidal thoughts, although only mentioned in the capacity of how the game helped me through those hard times. If that might be triggering or upsetting for you, please click away now. So, I first discovered Animal Crossing when I was about 6 years old. And despite having almost no memories of my childhood, I still remember the moment I played it for the first time with notably weird clarity. My best friend and I were at our other friend's house, and she whipped out her DS and started playing Animal Crossing Wild World, unwittingly prompting a gaming addiction within me that still has yet to dwindle. She let me play on it and start my own file, and there was something genuinely magical about exploring this tiny digital world of animals for the first time. Working for Tom Nook as a part-time job was something that I think all of us would grow to hate in time, but even that was something that I was just utterly fascinated and enthralled by. It's really hard to articulate how strong the feeling of excitement and wonder was when I first started exploring Wild World, and it's something that I've never been able to recreate with any other game, not even the new Animal Crossing editions that would follow it. Honestly, I think it has a lot to do with how different of a time it was back then. The internet was a different place, and as a small child, my access to it was largely limited to the Impossible quiz, and this old game cheat website that I'm pretty sure doesn't even exist anymore, that I used largely to find secret Tamagotchi codes, and a plethora of completely unfounded, unconfirmed game secrets for Pokemon and Animal Crossing. Like, this was a time when the biggest resource for gaming was essentially a site that accepted user submissions of Easter eggs and secrets and cheats for games, and just posted them, as truth, without confirming whether or not there was actually any truth to them. Young me, when she was first discovering Animal Crossing and Pokemon, would spend hours scrolling through this website looking through all of these myths and legends being promoted as legitimate cheats and secrets, and I had no way of knowing which ones were real. There was no Twitter for me to go to ask people who knew stuff about the game what was true. So when I was discovering Wild World for the first time, it was with the wonder and excitement of someone whose only way to confirm whether or not Tom Nook would, in fact, come out of his store if you hit it with a shovel 5 times at 3 a.m. wearing pajamas and rage, was to try it and find out. It was just a huge world of mystery in which my best friend would come over and tell me, hey, my friend's cousin's classmate got a banana in Wild World from a message in a bottle, so there are bananas in the game, they're just really rare. And without any way of disproving that, I literally played the game for years, thinking that maybe, if I was lucky, I would find one of those mythical bananas on the beach every day. I don't know, there was just something incredible about not knowing everything about the game's world, and about its limitations, about what could and couldn't happen, because that meant that, in theory, anything could happen. The same could be said for Pokemon Pearl and Super Mario 64 DS, at least for me, because they also had huge worlds to explore that seemed genuinely endless, with no limits to their possibilities because I didn't have any way of knowing what those limits were. And for a long time, as I grew up, I kind of became discouraged and disenchanted by the sequels to those games for not providing me that same feeling. But in truth, I think it was just the world changing that stopped me from replicating that feeling with the sequels. It wasn't any failure on those games' behalfs, but just the fact that the moment each of them came out, a Google search and a check of the online community for it could tell me literally everything about it. And that magical illusion of boundless possibilities within its world to explore was pretty much shattered. Obviously, I'm not complaining that technology and the internet have advanced, or saying that it's bad that we can easily become so well-informed. It's just hard not to feel sentimental or nostalgic about the first game that fills you with wonder and a desire to explore every corner of its world. And the lack of internet influence just happened to be one of the reasons that Animal Crossing Wild World made me feel that way. Naturally, this also prompted some mischief, of course, which is something I fondly reflect on every time I see the bunny hood item in the game. Because the internet wasn't around in the same way it is now to disprove game myths, young Celestia decided to take advantage of that. Many years later, in middle school, I introduced my next best friend to the game, and she fell in love with it just as I had. We made amazing memories with it, especially decorating our towns for holidays, or the time we walked around her neighborhood and ranked actual houses based on how much they looked like Animal Crossing houses while eating cookie dough out of a tube. But anyway, one of my ultimate favorite memories is the prank that I decided to pull on her with it. Because I had been playing the game for a much longer time than she had, I used that seniority to share with her the legend of the White Rabbit that only us OG Wild World players knew about. I told her that every once in a while using local play with another person, there was a chance of encountering a glitched white rabbit who would enter your town secretly alongside your actual guest. You would see this rabbit around your town, and if it chased you down and caught up to you, it would destroy your file, or worse. I still don't know what I even meant by worse. Like what, is this rabbit gonna kill you in real life? Steal your credit card information? Burn down your house? Sleep with your wife? I don't know. But I didn't have to know, because after all, this was just a legend that was passed down, so it was only natural that I wouldn't know the details of it. Anyway, long story short, I would go to her town, suggest we play hide and seek as an excuse to split up with her, and once I got a safe distance away, I'd put on the bunny hood and the fluffy dress, and start slowly wandering her town, waiting to be seen. Now, I'll show the bunny hood on screen for reference. Because of how it looks, it's really hard to tell from behind that it's a human wearing a hood. It just looks like an actual rabbit. But if you turn around, it's abundantly clear from your face that you're a human being. So I had to try very hard to move around her town without ever showing my face, which meant a lot of adjusting myself behind trees before moving certain directions, but whatever. I committed, I had just recently discovered creepypasta, and I was inspired. And it worked! For weeks, I would freak her the hell out by making this white rabbit show up inexplicably, sometimes wielding an axe and chasing her. And she genuinely believed that this was a terrifying game glitch until she realized that I was never with her when this happened. And then I messed up and she saw my face, and I'm pretty sure she actually considered physically maiming me. But the point is, I made some amazing memories in Wild World that I still treasure now. And it was a time in my life that felt so truly magical that I don't think I'll ever be able to recreate it. It was also simultaneously a horrible, horrible time in my life when I was dealing with a lot of trauma that I obviously won't be going into here. But the fact that this game offered me such a beautiful escape from that is probably a big part of the reason that my memories of it are so strong and important to me even now. The next game in the Animal Crossing franchise was City Folk for the Wii. And while I did eventually play this one, I was really late to the party as I didn't get a Wii until it had been out for quite a few years. And honestly, I was still religiously playing Wild World at this point, so I didn't feel like I was missing out. Besides, handheld gaming had always been my preference, especially when it came to games that were really relaxing and centered on world building, because I wanted to be able to bring it with me wherever I went. When I did start playing City Folk, I may or may not have had Homebrew on my Wii, which may or may not have let me hack my copy of the game. Which in the short term was super cool because it meant using grass deterioration to make dirt paths, getting all of the otherwise locked items, and making my town perfect. But with games like that, if you make your town perfect within a week, there's pretty much nothing left for you to do after that, aside from the incredibly tedious process of maintaining said dirt paths. Nothing against the game itself, as I honestly think it was fantastic, and that if I had approached it differently, I probably would have gotten way more into it. But that combined with the fact that it was really difficult to bring the Wii back and forth between my parents' houses as they had joint custody, just left me failing to get as wrapped up in it as I had been in Wild World. Around this time, I was starting high school, and my life had once again taken many consecutive turns for the worse. Like before, I won't be getting into why or what was going on or anything like that, but I was struggling not only with what was happening, but also my mental health. I was fighting with self-harm and suicidal thoughts as well as attempts, amongst many other things. And for quite a few years, I was regularly in and out of psychiatric hospitalization. But fortunately for me, it was around this time that Animal Crossing New Leaf was released in Japan. They released it there 1 year before the North American release, and while my Japanese skills were rudimentary at best at that point in my life, they were good enough to understand the game well enough to play, and translate what I didn't understand. And as such, my dad gave me an incredibly generous gift that would end up saving my life, which, as I'm sure you can guess, was a Japanese 3DS and a copy of the game. It's something I've been grateful for a very long time, because New Leaf helped me find meaning in life when I was struggling to in any other way. And because my Japanese wasn't good enough to properly use the internet in Japanese, it was kind of similar to my early experience with Wild World, because I couldn't translate any resources well enough to learn everything about the game before playing it. So I was once again able to explore the world of my favorite game franchise without knowing anything real about it beforehand. I got to learn its secrets and intricacies all on my own, and I posted all of these magical discoveries on my Tumblr. Because the game wasn't out in North America yet, I was one of the few English-speaking players who was documenting their time playing it in English, which meant that regardless of the quality of my blog, which was admittedly not great, it was pretty popular. And honestly, being able to not only discover a brand new world within my favorite game, but also have people actually want to see my journey in doing so, made me feel like I mattered to someone, or even multiple someones, when I was at a point in my life where that was not a common feeling for me. But even if it weren't for that blog, I don't doubt that New Leaf would still have saved my life. It gave me something to look forward to every day. It gave me a world of my own to develop and grow and let my creativity prosper in. And as sad as it might sound, it gave me a community of friends who noticed when I wasn't around. The villagers in my town missed me when I was gone. They were always happy to see me. They were never mad at me or disappointed in me. They never gave up on me. And even when I had no one else to count on or care, I had them. And when nothing else could make me want to wake up in the morning, the tiny world in my 3DS full of animal friends who cared about me and valued the hard work that I put into developing that world was something that I could hold on to. Eventually, things started looking up for me, and that was largely because I met my partner, Sel. She lived on the other side of the country from me, and we actually ended up meeting because we both roleplayed Death Note on Tumblr and got to talking outside of that. In time, I would end up meeting her in person, moving in with her, moving back to my home province with her, and starting a life together that's now been going strong for almost 9 years. But before all of that, we couldn't even hug. The earliest months of our relationship growing into what it is now all took place with the majority of Canada between us, and that was anything but easy because my gay little heart was desperate to just be with her. But once again, Animal Crossing New Leaf was the unsung hero of rough times in my life because it let us have dates even if we couldn't do so in person. I'll show some screenshots of our little New Leaf dates now, the earliest of which actually started a tradition that we've still kept up with, even now, which is to spend New Year's Eve together in the game and watch the fireworks. It was one of the first things we did together in New Leaf, and every year since we've watched those same fireworks in whatever version of Animal Crossing we were playing at that time. We also used to build little areas of our town dedicated to each other, like this little garden I had with flowers arranged in a heart for her, or this little BMO cutout standee that I made on the flight back from visiting her because that's her favorite Adventure Time character. It wasn't easy to be so far away from the one person that you want to spend the rest of your life with for so long, but New Leaf helped bridge the gaps between visits until we could finally be together permanently. I ended up maintaining my addiction to New Leaf for a long time, even after we had moved in together and after my mental health began to recover, and I got away from the things in my life that were so problematic. Because even when I wasn't using it as an escape, I was using it as a creative outlet. I am genuinely ashamed to admit that the majority of my savings, whenever I had disposable income, went to buying more 3DSs and copies of the game, so that I could make more and more towns with different themes. It's just such a versatile game with its customization and capabilities, to the point that I was able to recreate the worlds of Durarara, We Happy Few, and Fullmetal Alchemist in it as their own towns, in addition to my more personalized themed towns. And because I was so attached to New Leaf, I was really hesitant to accept New Horizons when it came out. I just had such a strong connection and history with New Leaf, and the idea of starting over with a brand new game really shook me down to my change-fearing core. But then the pandemic happened, and I pushed that reluctance aside in favor of letting New Horizons distract me from the unbridled disaster that was and still is real life. And God, I'm so glad that I did. I have my gripes with the game like everyone else, but what it comes down to is that just as Animal Crossing has always done for me, it's given me an escape from life that is incomparable in its serenity. Animal Crossing has saved my life more times than I can count, and New Horizons is no exception. I'm sure everyone can relate in some way to the feelings of hopelessness and desolation that have accompanied the past year, but throwing myself into my island has made all of that feel a little less insurmountable. Like it's a ray of sunshine and positivity in what's otherwise a very dark time. And I know that a lot of people have felt similarly. And it's interesting, because while the magic of Wild World for me was the very individual experience I had with it, specifically because the internet didn't interfere with it, the magic of New Horizons is exactly the opposite. The timing of its release put the game in a unique position to appeal to a whole new demographic of people, because OG fans weren't the only ones waiting like feral raccoons for its release. People desperate for something to fill their quarantine, people trying to connect to loved ones that they couldn't visit anymore, people playing it with the family they were isolated with. all kinds of brand new groups of people started exploring the world of Animal Crossing for the first time when New Horizons was released. And that, to me, has been so unbelievably heartwarming to see. Because in a weird way, everyone kind of came together with this game despite everything going on. And seeing all of the ways people have used it to overcome and deal with the pandemic's effects has brought so many smiles to my face. It's shown me that the same game that got me through the very worst parts of my life is clearly now doing the same for so many people, and they're all seeing the same charm and beauty in this game that I've been enchanted by for such a long time. And I just can't put into words how happy that makes me. Say what you will about Animal Crossing's problems, whine that we don't have Brewster yet, all you want. You still can't deny that there's something deeply beautiful about a game that's able to spark hope and joy in so many people during times in which both of those things are in very short supply. So that's my story with Animal Crossing. What's yours? I've heard such amazing stories from people about their experiences with this game, and I'd love to hear more in the comments. Because it's such a pure and unique and special thing for a game to have touched so many hearts, and I'll never get tired of hearing more ways that it's done so for others. I hope you guys enjoyed today's special edition story time, and I look forward to seeing any and all entries to the Draw This in Your Style challenge. Don't forget to include the hashtag and post yours on either Twitter or Instagram in order to receive your prizes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.